Recently, the Trump campaign has come out and attacked the Federal Reserve's politically motivated manipulation of interest rates. Trump came out and he blasted the very false economy, the manipulated stock market, and of course the chairperson of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, who has been keeping interest rates way below where the market would have them, presumably, at least in Trump's view and in the view of many other analysts, in an effort to prop up the Obama economy, prop up the stock market, and keep things running smoothly until at least after the election. There's a number of facets that I want to analyze here, but I want to start by saying that I think regardless of what you think of Trump or his campaign, he has performed a tremendous service to the American people and to the world by highlighting these key issues. Now these are issues that Clinton came out and said, no, we should never talk about the Federal Reserve. You should not comment on what the Federal Reserve is doing. And frankly, I find that disgusting. The Federal Reserve is maybe one of the most powerful agencies of the U.S. government, assuming you count it as part of the U.S. government. Technically it's not, but it is one of the most powerful institutions in this country. The idea that a presidential candidate has no right to talk about it is absurd, and Trump has done a huge favor to us all by breaking the silence on this important issue. So I want to break down some of the things Trump has said about the Federal Reserve and explain why I think these are so important. So first, let's talk about the manipulation of interest rates. Trump came out and he attacked this phony manipulation of interest rates and the keeping of interest rates so low. They're close to 0% right now, which is rather historic. And there's a very good reason why he attacked this, and he didn't get into all the detail, but I think it's important to explain here. Everybody knows that central planning is a total failure, right? We can go to Cuba, we can go to North Korea, we can go to the Soviet Union and see that central planning has been a miserable failure everywhere it's been tried. And yet, here we have this opaque institution, this Federal Reserve, deciding that they can centrally plan interest rates. Money is the lifeblood of the economy, and here you have the Federal Reserve trying to centrally plan the price of money, which of course is interest rates. So in a free market, you would have, interest rates would be determined in the free market, where you would have the supply of loanable funds and the demand for loanable funds, and where they meet, that's where you would have the price of money, right? The base interest rate. But unfortunately, in today's economy, you have an unelected and unaccountable board of central planners who decide what they think interest rates should be, and then they either create or destroy money. They either pump money into the economy or suck it out to try to achieve those interest rates. This is totally backwards, this is totally crazy, and it causes major problems for the economy. So if the interest rates are kept too low, below where the market would have put them, you get all kinds of malinvestment. You get housing bubbles, dot-com bubbles, technology bubbles, real estate bubbles, who knows what other kind of bubbles, and then eventually that all ends in tragedy, right? It's called the boom and bust cycle because it ends in a bust, right? All that malinvestment has to be liquidated. All that money, all those resources that were channeled into endeavors that should never have received capital need to be liquidated. All those employees need to be let go. So this is a painful process, and what it serves to do is waste the American people's money and resources and enrich the crony few at the top at the expense of the poor and middle class. So even the fact that Trump is just talking about this is a huge deal. This needs to be exposed. This is critical to understanding the problems that ail our economy. Next, Trump also came out in favor of the Audit the Federal Reserve movement. So there's been bills in Congress for years now, first introduced by Congressman Ron Paul, to audit the Federal Reserve. Believe it or not, this super powerful institution is not properly audited by anyone, right? There's nobody who can look through the books of this except the people at the Federal Reserve. That's not okay, right? This agency is more secretive than the Central Intelligence Agency, and that is not acceptable. It needs to go. And so Trump has come out and quite rightly said that, hey, we need to audit the books of this institution. This institution has so much power, and we don't know what's going on there. We need to change that. Trump has also talked about the benefits of gold and an objective standard by which money should be measured. Now, in U.S. history, throughout almost all of U.S. history, we've had currency that's backed up by something, gold, silver. Now, Trump has talked about the benefits of this because this wealth can't just be confiscated secretly by bankers printing money out of thin air. So we also have Trump talking about the manipulation of the stock market. And this is huge. In the New American, we reported some years ago that stock markets around the world today are literally dominated by central banks and by governments. Now, this is totally inappropriate to have central bankers printing money out of nothing and then injecting it into the stock market and propping up prices of favored crony companies and so on. This is totally backwards. This is not a free market. This is a scam, and Trump has quite rightly called it out as a very false economy. So these issues are absolutely huge. Now, again, the Federal Reserve is is a private institution, and they said so in court. Actually, they were sued by the media. The media wanted to know what they were doing during the 2008 economic crisis, and they said, oh, we don't have to respond to Freedom of Information Act requests. We're a private company with private owners, private shareholders who elect our board and so on and so forth. We are not subject to these federal transparency laws. Those are for government agencies. We're a private entity. So this is not acceptable to have this cartel of private bankers with a congressionally provided monopoly on printing currency and manipulating interest rates. We all need to educate ourselves about the Federal Reserve. We have great articles in the New American Magazine if you want to read more about this. Fed manipulations in the crosshairs, bankers for the New World Order. And if you want to dig even deeper, if you go to shopjbs.org, we've got books. Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin is a great introduction to what goes on at this institution called the Federal Reserve. So please educate yourself, educate others, and thanks very much for watching.